Hi, this is Benson again, and we're going to continue on where we left off last stream. We'll be painting the Jackdaw miniature. He's from Malifaux. We put some base coats on him last time, and now we're just going to put a bit more depth into it. We'll do some shading and maybe a bit of highlights. We'll see how far we get. Probably going to stream for another hour or so, so we'll get started then. Okay, let's have a look. There we go. Alrighty, so here's our mate. Since last time I was on, I just fixed up a couple of small things, basically filling some gaps and repainting a few bits and or pieces, like underneath the vest. Didn't really have any colour on it. Okay, so I'm still not going to touch the rope here because it is going to get paint on it from other sources and I don't want to have to keep cleaning it up. So we'll start off with, what would I normally do? The pants. That seemed like the easiest thing. Washes. Everyone's favourite, the Faux Devlin Mud, Agrax Earthshade. I'm not going to thin this one, I want it nice and dark, so sorry about getting the miniature out of view for the moment. Blip. There we go. I've got a little marker on my mat here to try and make sure that the figure is in, let me adjust that, in the screen. Okay. So with washes, just slap it on. Try to be a little careful, you don't want to drown the entire thing. But since we're going to be painting over this with the base coat colour before going into highlights, it doesn't really matter too much. See, now I've put the marker down there, it kind of gets stuck to it, and then you've just got this weird, awkward angle. Alright, how about I try this? I'm just going to put a bit of wash onto my palette so then I don't have to keep trying to grab it from the pot. It's a wet palette, so it should stay wet for a little while at least. Okay, take two. I should suggest everyone try and paint with something in front of their face, like a camera or small child or animal. It's quite the challenge. So, how's everyone been? It's quite warm up here where I am. It says 24, but feels like, I don't know, 30. I've got 42 acres of land, so I've got to mow. It feels like almost constantly. And so every chance I get, that's what I'm doing, if it's not raining, or if it's not too hot. Which is why I would have been on here a bit sooner. But if it wasn't for that danged mowing, stupid grass growing. But otherwise, it's a beautiful day. I should put the desk outside, take the lights outside. Paint outside, but under the shade, of course. Otherwise it'll just be blinding and then hot and sunburnt. And you don't want to get sunburnt. Okay. Now, I said kind of slap it on, but I'm being a bit more gentle. So, take that advice as you will. Alrighty. I've also got the window open in this room, so the paints may dry a bit quicker, so that the combination of it being warm and the open window, we'll see how that affects everything. At the moment it looks alright, it's not like it's drying on my brush and it's pooling where it needs to. Because with the washes you want it to pool in, well, I want it in the to pull into the nooks and crannies. So it's nice and dark. And you get this sort of blending effect. Gradient, I guess, is what you'd call it. Or if you're in the fashion world, the ombre. Learned lots of fancy words watching Frederick Runway. Great show. And I'll hear nothing against it. Super entertaining. You want trash TV? Frederick Runway. I think a lot of those TV shows, the creative ones, like what is it? Face Off? I think that's a makeup one. And there's a body painting one as well. I mean, they're all a bit stupid and formulaic, but they're entertaining, and they can come up with some neat stuff. I think that'll do. That's pretty washed. Get in his crotch right behind the knees and his bum. Because they're the important bits. Then you'll see all the creases and whatnot in the pants. They'll come up quite a bit later. When we're painting on top of it, we'll bring those creases out with the highlights, and then it'll look schmick, as I just say. I don't know, I'm sure I'm supposed to say that. Alrighty, pants done. Let's go with the head. Gonna go a lighter brown this time. Another G-Dub wash, the sepia. You could use the earth shade, just thin it down a bit. Alrighty, face, where are ya? There you are. Now I'm not putting a whole lot on the brush, because I don't want to slather it and then cover the eye holes, and then we had that problem trying to get the paint out of the eye holes last time without it drying. And I'm going to focus a bit more on the back of the head, because that's where the shadows will fall. It's not too important on the front, because that'll get the most attention. Under the neck, in this particular portion where the rope goes, and nice and round. If it's nice and dark, then we don't have to paint it later, because it's just natural shadow. Okay, let's have a look here. Again, focusing on the back of the head, because that's where the shadow is going to fall. Now, because it's a wash and it's quite fluid, if we stand it up, it will slowly pull to the back. Not happy with that front here. It's got these two big splotches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that brush in my mouth and get another brush and just blot it to absorb it and wash that one. That's how it's done. See? Okay. And I don't know, we'll see how that goes when it's dry, because often I'll wash something and then it just doesn't look right, so I'll just paint it. Just using darker colours, just paint it instead of washing it. Turns out alright. Well, that's that. Nice and easy. Let's do his vest. Now, because it's a dark red that we used to base coat, what I am going to do is mix in a red with a dark brown. So, alright, we'll use some tack there, hold this thing there so it doesn't go all blurry. You've got something sort of okay to look at, hopefully it holds. And I'm going to use this really old Bale red. I'll put that into my well. I use this thing. It's pretty scungy, but who cares? So a couple of drops of red. It's not a big vest, so we don't need a whole lot. And I'm going to use the dark brown, not the lighter brown, the earth shade. I reckon a 50-50, we'll see. So I'll just put one drop to the reds too. Let's go 2 drops, yeah, 50-50. I think that should be dark enough. Let's see how that looks on camera, if you can see it. So in the middle here. So if I kind of spread it across, it's like an old stain, I don't know. Wine stain, maybe? Okay, this is where we want to be a bit more careful because we don't want it getting on the skin. Because that'll be a paint over the skin because we haven't washed it yet. But, excuse me hands and your fingers and the shadow while I try and do this carefully on the camera. Not trying to get on the inside here. So just on the cloth there. Because when we wash the skin, that'll pull into that recess there, which is what I'd prefer. Okay. More focusing on nooks and crannies, and just underneath here, it's very hard for you to see without like a spotlight here. Side. Now I don't normally paint in these conditions with a couple of studio lights and a room light. I got this, it's hard to describe, it's kind of like a spotlight, LED spotlight. Got it from work, they were throwing it out. It's got its own massive stand. Kind of like a dentist's light. So I can sit on the couch and paint and have this light kind of sitting behind the couch. Focusing on my work without annoying anyone else. We went over that before, but that's fine. We're just focusing on the nook and or crannies. Probably both. We don't want to focus on nooks and forget the crannies. They are equally important in this particular role. Providing shade and depth and giving all that lovely field of colour goodness. Range of colour? Field of colour? I'm going to say field. Field's nicer. Almost done. Pretty quick. So pretty quick, but what's that? We're 13 minutes in and we've not done a lot. Not going to win any speed painting awards. Although PAX is coming up. If I was going, I would like to try it out. Blonk. That's the red done. Okay, get on to... Now, I think this is going to be the most difficult bit. Readjust the chair. Is getting the skin right. The concept art of... the art of Jackdaw has him... He's got this really pale, yellowy, mucky skin. I think we've got a good start. I'm trying to make him look a bit more sickly, so how about we mix a little bit of the light brown and a little bit, just a touch of the green, and we'll just thin that out so it's not too heavy, and see what that produces. I almost never go by a recipe. It's always just on the fly. Mixing things, see how it looks, adjusting as if need be. Often I'll be starting on a miniature with no plan whatsoever other than, okay, metal is metal, hair is hair. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just throw some paint on it and see what rocks up. Okay. How about if I get... No, it's going to be hard to see anyway. So that's the brown that I've got at the moment. If I'm mixing in a bit of green, how sickly does this look? Yeah, we just got a murky brown. Try a bit more green. This is Athonian camo shit. It's like a foresty green. Anyone who's trying to ask for paint advice and they're saying I use this particular colour without actually saying what kind of colour it is, but using like a GW name or Vallejo name, unless it has something red or something green or whatever, I'm not going to know what it is. Like if I just said to you, what would be... It's going to be hard because everyone knows GW stuff. But a... My point, where's my point? Bone is bone, that's fine. Graveyard earth, what kind of colour is graveyard earth? Is that a dark brown? Is that a grey? Is it a lush brown? Is it a rich brown? Xandri dust. Dust to me is kind of like a grey colour. No, it's apparently a very deep yellow. Yeah. So if you're going to point out colours that you're using, just say it's a type of green. What kind of green is it? It's a foresty green. It's not vibrant. It still looks like a muddy brown. It's putting it next to the thing. That must actually be okay for his head, so I'm going to put that on the back of his head. It's a bit too vibrant at the moment. And you'll notice that he's kind of glossy. It's half dry, but it'll probably remain that kind of glossy. Don't worry about the gloss. We'll smash that out with a matte medium and or varnish at the red end to knock all that shine out. Just on the back now, not doing anything with the front. What I should actually do is, because I forgot it's a weird hood, just pop it down the back here, hopefully that'll remind me. And at the front here. This is where I don't mind if it gets in the skin because it's dark. I don't really have rules. I'll make suggestions and tips, but they're very, very loose guidelines. That's if you want to paint like I do or try and replicate some of the things that I do, because it really is just a whole lot of experimentation, seeing if things work. If I don't like it, just keep changing it. That's why it's good to have I think, just a dodgy brush. Well, this is actually a good brush, but a brush that if you make a mistake and the paint's still wet, you can kind of, bit of water, move it up, let the brush absorb it, wash it off, keep doing that until the paint's gone. It's like an eraser. So, yeah, I think I just want to border it so it's clear that that's part of the hood. And there's still plenty of wash if we want to do the skin. I think what I'm going to do now, that looks fine. Maybe I'll just do a bit more around the neck here. Under the chin. Get out of there, you. Mistake. Just knock that out. Go away, you. Whoop. I'm going to pop some yellow. So I've just got a yellow glaze. Lamenter's yellow. I know when I lament I'm yellow. So I'm going to add that to this sickly mush colour. Ew, gross. Let's go a bit more. Really bring out that sick person's urine colour. That on the grey. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so I've got some medium, I've got glaze medium, I've got all kinds of medium. I just want something without a pigment. Because it's a wash, I'm using... I mean, it says Lamy medium, but this is the one that I've made myself. Using water and a few different other products to make it a whole lot cheaper. This is what, I don't know, $6 or $7 for this thing. I have enough material to make 15, 20 pots of this stuff for about $20. It's really just large bottles of different kinds of medium and water. And you just kind of add and add, dilute, test it on something, see if you like the finish on it, because some will be satin, some super matte. The super matte ones often come out looking real dusty. Like once it dries, you get this residue. Again, experimental. This is a disgusting colour. How would that look on this fella? Let's put it on and see. Remember, this is just a wash. It'll get in all the crevices and we'll be painting over it, so it's not going to be the final colour. Alright, Magic Sick urine colour, see how you go. Not too happy with that. I'm going to put a bit more brighter green, and this is a G-Dub Glaze. So we had the foresty green wash, and this is a much more vibrant green. The glaze has a different kind of consistency, it's slightly thicker than a wash. This is from the G-Dub range anyway. Oh, I'm getting there. It's like a sickly urine colour now. That's a bit better, it's a bit darker. A bit more gross. Pop the lid on it so we don't knock the bottle over by accident. And we'll apply it to another part that we didn't do. Kind of happy with that. Now if you imagine us bringing all the highlights out with a lighter grey, leaving that, I think that'll actually look good. So I'm happy with that particular wash that we've created. Yeah, take it off the tack so I can move it a bit. Okay. Now I can see the little bits of red that I've got on hands and elbows. Not going to worry about that because they're going to be covered with the grey like I mentioned. I said in the first stream that I like to try and make it a bit more realistic in terms of my colour palette. I'm talking about undead, spooky people. Oh, sorry, chat. Didn't see you there. I was a bit too focused on myself. What's that? Thrawn True Blue? Hopefully I said that right. Yeah, flesh it can be hard. Again, it just for me it comes back to what it is I'm trying to paint. I find Caucasian skin the hardest because often it comes out either super tan or really, really pink. Swallowed a lot of paint licking your brush. Yeah. And lots of dirty water, paint water. Here's something gross. Like I said, I paint on the couch. We've got a couple of cats, and there's one weirdo that likes to jump on the coffee table and just drink my paint water. Freak of a cat. Non-toxing all that, but why? Anyway. Animals. I don't mind painting skin. Again, depending on what it is, it's easy to blend, especially on big guys, ogres, that kind of thing. And I'll probably paint one of them later down the track. because I've got a few Rumble Slam figures that I'd like to colour up, and those miniatures are quite simple in comparison, but it makes for easy painting, nice and relaxing. Okay, almost done with this disgusting colour. How is that focusing on the camera? There's a bit of pooling on the ankle, we don't really want that, but again, like I said in the first stream, the foot doesn't matter too much because when you base it, it's going to be covered in grass and other scenic elements. And no one ever focuses on the foot, they don't bring it to their eyes and go, oh, it looks great, ooh, hang on, that foot doesn't look too good, no painting score for you. Yeah, it does look a bit weird. It does look very zombie-like. Is he zombie? I don't know. So I don't know if it's something I want to go for or not. Let's put him upside down just so I can get underneath here. But again, the important bit will be when we start building the colour back up. But I think this disgusting colour will be fine for the corners and the pits. I can't just keep saying nooks and crannies, I need a thesaurus. That's one thing I've learnt with writing for athgn.com.au, with my articles, is increasing my vocabulary. You don't want to be saying the same thing over and over and over, so you've got to learn different ways to say the same thing. So this guy's looking pretty gross. I'm pretty happy with that. Again, leaving the eyes for now. Just making sure that all the, another word, dips have a good amount of colour to it. Okay. True Blue, what have you been painting recently? Do you do a lot of painting? I think we're almost there. Really trying to stress the shadows, because once the shadows are done, I'm never going back to them. And hopefully my miniature handling for the camera has improved since the last stream, where it was out of focus a good portion of the time, or off the camera as I held it and did other things, looking for paints or whatever. And I'm currently in the process of getting some overlays for the screen, so just make it a bit more exciting to look at. A bit more professional. Alrighty, what am I doing now? Those pants look pretty dry. How about we start building them up, huh? Okay, so what did we use last time? We used P3 paint, which is Battlefield Brown. It's just a dark brown. A fairly dark brown. Blep. Did we? Or did we use something else? Maybe we used the granite, which is like that dark brown mixed with a bit of grey. But let's just have a look here. If I painted that on top of that colour, you're not going to see it. That's starting to get a bit lighter, so I'm going to mix a bit of this stuff with a bit of lighter grey. There's my mixing brush. I've got a whole bunch of brushes, and as I use them over the years, they just get more and more worn. They then pick up different roles. This one, which was a good brush for a good while, is now a mixing brush. Yeah, I think this is the right colour. Okay, I wonder if I can move it. Don't want to take up too much real estate. Ah, it's out of focus anyway, not to worry. At least you can see something's happening on screen. Okay, so a bit of that with a bit of, I said grey, but I don't want to go too light to begin with. Where is my grey? Grey. There it is, laying down. This is a reapermini.com paint. Wow, that's a label that hasn't aged well. What do they call this one? Rainy grey? Alright. It's a medium to light grey. This is what I'll use to bring it up. Okay, I think I just lost another bristle there. Okay, and for mixing, this is what I do. Get out of the way, Jack. No one likes you. I take my colour. Yeah. And then I put what I want to mix it with on this other side. And then I just kind of bring bits of it in. Not just swish the whole thing around. Just a little bit more. Just keep adding a little bit more until I'm happy with the colour that I'm after. Now, because we don't want to do too many layers, well, I don't want to do too many layers because time. I'm going to go, ooh, still not coming up very bright, is it? That's looking a bit better. How about we do that? We'll make that our medium, our mid-tone. And because it's nice and warm out here, even though it is on a wet palette, it will dry at a reasonable rate. So I'm going to use just a smidge of this stuff. Another Reaper brand drying retarder. You don't want to use too much of this. Like really not much at all. Maybe a half drop. And mix that into the concoction we've created. That'll just make it a bit easier to work with. I'm also going to... yeah, I might add a drop of medium as well, just to make it a bit more fluid. Just the one drop. Keeps it moist as well. And makes blending a bit easier. I'll get the paint off that brush. And let's get back to work. Alright, Jack, sorry. People do like you. You do, come on. Now that it's drying, he's looking quite sick. A very ill Jack. I'm sure it'll look fine in the end. Okay, keep the point on that brush. Where's my other good brush? I don't know which one's good now. And we'll go the medium one. What kind of brush is this? I don't know, it's unlabeled. Probably a cheap one. Alrighty. Little bit of paint. Don't want too much. The drying retarder will keep it wet on the brush bristles. Another good reason for getting it. And because of the wash, you can already see the raised areas, the lines. I'm kind of going to work with that. I'm also going to try keep on this plane as well. Try not to do too much on the back side because he is standing at this particular angle. So it's going to be quite dark behind there. So there's no real highlights when it's dark. It's shadow. That is my theory anyway. So let's just start with the knees. Let's see if this grey has, how's that looking? That looks alright. Has made any impact to the colour. It will also change colour when it dries. And also with the two lights here, it does make it a bit difficult to see what I'm doing. So I normally just have the one straight on. And I could just need to get my eyes tested. In a couple of years. What is this song? Go away. I'm using Pretzel, which is kind of taps in with Twitch. Royalty-free music. And it's just a random list. Because in my first stream, I didn't have, or I picked a particular genre and it would just play the same 3 songs over and over and over and over again. Quite annoying. Alrighty. Joys of Malifaux. Getting into places that you struggle normally. I don't know if that's actually doing anything. Plus with this weather, because it's warm, it should dry faster, but then the retardant makes it slow down, so it kind of knocks itself out in terms of balance as to getting stuff done for the stream and getting stuff done right. I don't know if that made any sense. It made sense in my head. So therefore it should make sense to everyone else, alright? So I'm just using straight line strokes. Doop 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 doop. And like I said, just sticking to the front bit. I probably, hindsight, 2020, probably shouldn't have attached the rope. But like I said before, it's a Malifaux figure, so the way they assemble things, cut things, is quite nonsensical. There have been times where I have done it part way through, thinking, alright, this will make things easier, paint that up, and then realise, hang on, no, it's actually going to scrape, and then it's not going to work. And then I have to repaint it anyway. Thanks, weird. Still focused, okay. Okay, so nice big flat area of colour there on his thigh. Gotta get my hands still here for these little lines. And same on the other side. Alrighty, almost there. I think that's looking okay considering the lighting at the moment. I might go over this tonight again with my straight light source just to clean it up a bit. Because when I go to paint on it, and then because I've got lights on this both sides, I put my hand close to it and the shadow just knocks out what I'm trying to see. Shouldn't have to worry too much though, because they're crappy looking pants, and we'll be adding texture later. Might actually add to the effect if it's a bit dodgy. Now I did say we're going to try and leave the back here, but it does look a bit flat, so what I might do is just do the edges here, the hem. So I'm thinking if light's coming down from this particular direction, under here it's going to be nice and dark, thighs are probably going to be pretty dark. That corner's going to be pretty dark. Then it'll start to lighten up here. Refracted light bouncing back from the ground, whatever. Should illuminate this little bit. A little. We probably won't go much more than this particular highlight. Although we might go back and darken that area. Yep. I think that'll do there. It's got a... I reckon we could add a bit of light here as it comes around the side. And what I might do now is get a little bit tricky, because while the paint's still wet, move it about using a different brush that doesn't have paint on it. And just kind of blends it. It's a very poor two-brush blending technique there, but that is more of a save than anything. I might do two-brush blending on another figure if you wanted to check that out, because I've been practicing and I can do it okay with a decent amount of speed. Makes painting and blending much faster instead of doing successive glazes of very thin and slowly building that up. Let's use the cheap two-brush blend. Okay, I think we're hitting the shadow area there. There's one raised bit there, a couple of raised bits here. Raised bit, raised bit, raised bit, knee, thigh, thigh, crotchety crotch, thigh, 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 shadow. Shit. I don't know how Twitch picks that up. Is that a not safe for work or family? Oh. I'll try to avoid using profanity, so I protect your children's freaking ears. Alright, that'll do, I think. That's all I can be bothered seeing. So what we're going to do, that's not going to take too long to dry. I am going to come back to this thing, this lovely colour here, and then going to mix some more of that grey in. So we're using that existing colour and lightening it up even further. I'm just going to push it a bit further though, because it's not much of a step from what we just painted and me using the last of that grey on the palette. It's a bit lighter, but I want to make it a bit further. Really force that change in colour. So I'm going to use a much lighter grey. What is that? Geez, that's an old paint. This is a Astronomican grey. It's a light bluey white grey. This reminds me of a discussion I had with someone about the colour fawny grey. What the flip is fawny grey? It's a light brown. What are you talking about? Stupid naming conventions. This is just a house paint. Okay, so that light grey has done the trick. If you can see here. Ooh, get out of the way, Jack. No one likes you. So this is what we had before. And so there's quite a bit of a step between those two, which is what we want. And I'll just mix in a little bit of water just to make sure it's moist. And then we'll keep painting. We'll pretty much do the exact same thing as what we did before, but paint less of the area. I'm going to use a slightly smaller brush, because we're doing slightly smaller lines. Make sure the tip's nice and pointed. Okay, let's see, Jack. What do we got? And I'll be curious to see how it appears on camera as well. Ah, and my hand just covers you, and then you got the bloody shadow. Well, also, just looking at this stream in chat, I think I might just fork out for the subscription to Pretzel, so you don't have these flippin' blinks keep throwing up on the chat. I'm finding it annoying. I'm sure you are as well. Okay, so going over it again. Yep, that's much better. I'm just going to push, hang on, put that in my mouth, and push that blob that I did before it dries around the figure. It's quite thin. Okay. Stick that back in the water. Brain tangent. Mr. Matey bath, like bubble bath. Whatever happened to Mr. Matey? I remember seeing ads for it everywhere and then nothing. Did it give kids cancer or something? Whatever. Okay. Pushing those highlights even further. You've got to be even more careful with these because the highlight is a lot brighter. We don't want to be making too many splooges. So we want our lines to be a bit more crispier. Crisp here, not crispier. Although I guess that word still is okay. Makes sense. Okay, so I just I had too much on the figure there, so I just took a brush and just absorbed it a bit. Line, 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 line. And just the very edges on this one. Okay. Looking alright. Alrighty. I think that's okay from all angles. Tell you what, I mean, I like this webcam that you're viewing the figure with, but the white balance, the way it's trying to kind of compensate all the time, and that's auto, that's off auto. Wonder if I can adjust this so it's not freaking out all the time. To make it look natural, it's too warm. Much too warm, it's like Mars. Now we're Pluto. Bugger it, auto it is. What's that? Wasting time, that's what I was doing. We've been streaming for almost an hour already. Far out. Okay. Get my flippin' hand out of the way. This is a difficult bit because we need to be really, really crisp with these lines. These are the centerpiece creases of his pants. So a nice sharp brush, plenty of paint on the brush so it doesn't dry. Can you see that well? Okay. And we're just making lines. Sound effects may help. Because we want those nice sharp creases in his pants. And they're the ones that stands out. Everything else is just like an extra in the show. These are the ones that get paid well. These lines that we're doing now. Okay, that's one half done. Line. some of them a bit more. As they dry, it darkens. That's pretty crispy. Such crisp. Much snap. Okay, now we've got to do his thigh here. Doesn't have too many lines on it. And I can't even see if I'm painting it. Thanks, Studio Lights. Okay, this is going to be rough. It makes it a bit easier hiding one light so I can see the shadow there. It's a shame he doesn't have any hair on this figure, because I've got a few tips to impart when it comes to hair. I guess I'll have to wait for another time. Just because there's lots of straight lines involved with hair as well. So, knee. And then creases hem. Nice bright hem with some sweet looking shadows. Don't want to go too far back because that's not where light hits it. Let's see if we can get under here. And that rope again, making itself known, getting in my face. Alright, what we got next? Okay, let's see here. Hopefully I don't knock the camera. Gotta put it more central. Alrighty. This is quite the puzzle. Trying to get under here. Okay. Ugh. Them brush handling skills. Now it's a bit too liney on this thigh. It would be taut, the fabric. So I'm just going to, what I might do is blend it a bit. So I'm going to take an okay amount of paint on the brush, splooge it right in the center so it doesn't dry, and then work real quickly. While it's still dry, I'm going to move the splooge with the brush of another. Clean that, because you don't want to move too much, and keep going. Whoop, knock the camera. Professional. Okay. That makes things a bit easier. Did I try that? Yep. Oh, and I just scrape the microphone against the camera. Ugh. This flippin' rope right in my line of sight. So I'm just going back over the other leg now. Just reinforcing those colours because it's drying, it's darkening, and then as we put another coat, it just makes it a bit more solid, makes it stand out a bit more. There will be another, we'll be adding a little bit more grey, light grey to this, and I think they'll make that our last highlight for the pants. And we'll also use that colour to add texture to the fabric. Okay. It's actually quite a simple model, this one. I thought there'd be more to it because he's a glowy, spooky ghost sort of guy thing. Okay. So the front of his this pants is looking alright. Then you move to the back and it's nice and dark. That's excellent. That's what I'm after. I'll just do the same over here. Reinforce those lines. Center of the pants would be a bit more solid because it's taut and not creased. And then going back and fixing up the lines to the side where it would be creased. And knock the camera out. Okay. I think the front of his pants here are okay. There's a bit of a weird colour mishmash there. So I'm just going to blend it using the lines. Bring it all in. That wouldn't be in shade, so I'm just going to colour that. I think that looks alright. We may go over the pants towards the end before the final highlight with a watered down shape. That'll blend as well. And we might put some black towards his bottom and underneath the vest. But I think that's all I want to do for the pants for now. He's looking alright, he's coming along alright. This is where the perfectionist comes in, always going back and touching it up and then realizing, why did I do that? I just made it worse. Oh, knock the camera again. Sorry camera, sorry viewer. But I think we're okay with that. Shall we keep painting? What's the time? 3:30. Yeah, let's just do his mask, his hood. Why not? Go a bit further. Okay, so what I might do is just start with this dusty colour now. This paint is also starting to dry. Good thing I've got my rubbish brush to coax the paint out, mix it up a bit, lose another bristle or two. I find if the paint's a little dry, you can just add a bunch of water to it, mix it up, and then it brings it back to life. I have seen that there are products available now to restore drying paint, but I'm guessing it's just a medium. Pigmentless paint. Which is like water, just more expensive. Okay, need a bit more than that on my palette. Alrighty, don't need too much, but he's got a small head. Now, will this be too light for what we want at the moment? This could be the color of the final highlight. If I just test it here. That's pretty bright. Where are you? Focus. Focus. Wait, focus. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty bright. I'm just going to dab that. Magic. And then I'm going to add some of that graveyard earth I was complaining about before, which is just a brown, the lighter brown. At a 1:2 ratio for my yellow, just to knock it back a bit. Okay, paint loaded up. Let's see here. Now, like I was saying before, don't want to go too far on the back of his head because that's where it'll be dark. So wouldn't have highlights. Holding this, let's see. I did order a new holder, which I'm waiting for. It's called a universal work handle, I think, which I'm looking forward to using. It'll make things easier, okay? Alright, I'm just going to blend that bit of the mask there, so splooge of paint on the chin, splooge, water, and work it. I don't know. Don't know if I'm happy with that. I think the paint might still be a bit too light in colour. Yeah, I think it's a bit too bright. So it's doing the creases. No, maybe I'm wrong. I think that's supposed to be stitches that I'm just painting there. It's hard to tell. Just doing the raised parts that I can see. I'm avoiding the eye sockets again because we're just going to splooge it with some glowy effects later. And we don't want to be going over our work more than necessary. Gotta say, it's only my second stream, but I am enjoying it. Hopefully it's been interesting to watch. Well, I'd like to do more of it and improve. I've been given suggestions as to how to improve it, and I'm making steps towards it. What I'd like to get eventually is like a, what are they? It's kind of like a, how do I English this? Like a soundboard. I've forgotten the correct name of it. It's got a bunch of panels, buttons that you can assign things to. So instead of having to click about in OBS, you just press the buttons like a macro, and it does the thing. So I can have pre-prepare with slides and words and whatnot, and have that come up on the screen. If I've got a few tips prepared, then I can pop them up towards the end easily, nice and smoothly. But it's all money and time dependent. Whoop. I guess while we're sharing, I'm hoping to start getting some crowdfunding support, some viewer support, so then I can do this more often. Because at the moment I am limited by my days off from work. And even then, after that, I've got my housely duties. So if I could cut back and do this more for you, that would be great. And then we could play games. We've got a lot of kind of like dungeon crawler type games. Everyone seems to have, but no one seems to play because it takes ages to set up and organize. But if we could do that via a stream, Roll20 or whatever, then I can set it up and get it going and can actually have games of them. Finally get through these things. Okay. He's looking a bit dusty. We don't want his head too smooth. He's wearing a sack after all. But we will add texture towards the end, like I keep saying. I think that's okay. Just looking at this now. So just the front of his head is coloured, basically. And then as we go around, it goes darker. If you have a look underneath his head, it's just brown, which we will darken. We'll smash that back with a darker paint. Probably mix some dark grey into it. And just make sure we get those neck indentations. I don't know what's going on here with that hole there. It seems a bit odd to look at. I wonder if I can mix a bit of the pant colour into that yellow colour that we've been using. Give it a bit more of an aged look. How does that look here? It's darker. Maybe that'll work better transitioning between the pre-existing colour and the ones that we just put on. So I'm just going to pop bits of that in between the two. Tell you what, the fan from my PC is spitting out a bunch of hot air. It's getting quite toasty in this room. I think I'm happier with that colour there, yeah. Let's work this a bit. Work it. I'm just knocking back that yellow colour. Like I said, I wasn't too happy with it. I thought it was just too bright. But mixing in some of that pant grey, browny grey, I think was a good move. Still don't know what this is. Let's just use the pant colour with a smidge of the yellow and fill it a bit. This looks like a hole in the head. And then we just go straight pant colour. Right in the very bottom. And that'll be the shade. That's a bit better. Same here. Bugger it. While we're here, let's do it with the rest of it. So just the shady bits. So shade. Right there. That's actually not too bad, but I'm going to do it anyway. And this is how you fumble through painting until it gets good. And with practice, you can fumble with painting too until it gets good. Just throw enough crap at the wall, something's going to stick. And then you've got crap on your wall. Then your mum comes home. Why have you been throwing feces at the wall? Okay. For a base colour, I think that's looking okay for his head. We will need to do some highlights on it, and then we'll put the texture. When I say texture, basically what we're doing is we're just going to be doing like hashes, just crisscross cross, using a lighter paint so it stands out, and then it looks like it's a Hessian sack. And you can do different textures by doing the width of the hash. So is it tighter or loose? I don't, yeah, it's not done yet. Can't be happy with it until it's done. I'm not happy with it at the moment, but it will look better eventually. I think the pants look okay for the moment. I'm going for an aged pant look. We will weather it at the end, like give it some dirty hem, because it's dirty. But I think we'll leave it there. It's an hour and 10 into this stream. What we'll do next time, maybe Sunday during the day, around lunchtime. Oh wait, not yet. We're going to keep going here because I need to get this bottom part of the hood done. Otherwise I'm just going to forget, and I'm a forgetful person. So let's do that now. Let's outline it. Nope. Nah, bugger it. I'll do skin later, that'll cover it. Go away, tack, you're making it hard for me to hold. Okay, can you see? Okay. Being careful. Getting the edges. Making it stand out more than what it did before. But keeping the shadows near the rope, because the light won't get in there. Same with the back here. Is that focus? That's focus. Let's lighten up the raised bits, so when someone looks at it, it can see that it is part of the hood and not a discoloration of the skin. Not going to go in there because it's dark. No light's going to get in there. I might actually make a small line so you can see that it's part of that. I think we may have to be content with that. Don't quite understand what's going on over here. I think that's just more parts of hood. Okay, and I'm just going to take the yellow that I wasn't happy with before and just do the very edges of this. Alright, let's see if I can get a good position to keep it steady, because we need to be steady with this. And breathe. The other side. Back to the other side. Oh, it's still wet. And breathe. Okay. One more. And breathe. Okay, I think that's just a bit too much of a V there. I'm just going to just tap the brush, fill in that gap a bit, and let's kick up the paint a little further in terms of lightness, and just do the very edge. That looks more like hood. Well, at least that part there, it looks like it's supposed to be part of that. Which is the whole point of that before ending the stream. And we might do the same here as well. There's the edges with the lighter one. Edge over here. Keeping the rest of it pretty much the same colour. Ooh, this could do with a bit of a colour, it's because it's the very edge. Smash it back a bit. yeah, I think I'm not upset with it. So guess that's as good as we're going to get for now, I think. Let's clean up the edges. I can't get in there with this camera and light. And the gentle hand. Gentle hand's the hardest bit. And breathe. I think that'll do for now. So we got a sickly fella with some pants that are a bit nicer, a vest that is starting to get a bit of depth to it, and a hood that is getting some color to it. I'm trying to... The angle of that image is upside down and back to front. I think I am happy with that. I don't know. Obviously, the skin's not going to stay green. It'll look cool once we're done. Just having a think-sees. What I might do now, before I go, I'm always delaying this, but I'm going to pop a bit of white into the eye sockets, just to define them, and that'll help make it glow. So I'm using the bright white. Normally I don't recommend using bright white. This is a P3 Moro white, like bright, like coffee paper white. Just because it's very harsh and it stands out and doesn't look right, ever. But since we're going to be painting on top of it, it doesn't matter in this instance. Okay, might actually thin it just a teensy tiny touch. Get it off the brush as much as I can. And let's see if this works. Alright, angle, steady, don't stuff it up. Going for the socket and a little bit onto the mask because glow will do that. And the other eye. And glow onto the mask because it'll do that. Hands almost right in the way of the camera. Let's make sure I got all of it, and that you can still see the eyeball is my aim. Just got to knock some of that paint out of that other socket. How's that looking? Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Yeah, so those, what we painted white there, is going to end up glowing green. But that's just the base. So when we paint the mask, we'll just kind of avoid that, because when something's nice and bright, usually the area around it is dark. So that's why we do that, and then we leave the rest and we build up everything around it. So that's my theory, anyway. Okay, so that is part 2 of painting Jackdaw, Malifaux figure. Thanks again for coming in, and thanks to, I've already forgotten your name, Thrawn True Blue, coming in, having a bit of a chat. Try stream again on Sunday if I can. Otherwise, I'll probably see you next week. Until then, have a good day.